Thank you, Catherine. Welcome, everyone, to the Continuum of Care Board special session. As usual, today we will start with introductions. I'll start. Marvin Futrell. I serve as one of the co-chairs for the Continuum of Care Board. I'll pass it to Tamara.
Hello, I'm Tamara. I am a housing advocate at Solid Grounds Rapid Rehousing Program, and I am a board member of the Continuum of Care. And I will pass it to Sherry. Oh, and I use she, her pronouns. Sorry.
Yes. I am the director of the intake line for Mary's Place, as well as the contract with King County for the intake line. Oh, and she, her pronouns as well. And I will pass it to Kristen.
Thanks, Sherry. My name is Christy Hamilton. I am a member of the advisory committee, the Continuum of Care. I'm an Assiniboine Sioux Native Elder. I'm also a person with lived experience on the board, and I'm going to pass it to Jen Ozawa.
Thank you, everybody. Hello, my name is Jen Ozawa. I use she, her pronouns, and I work and serve in work with KCRHA and serve in the role as procurement and policy manager. I've been co-leading the COC consolidated application alongside Kelsey, and I'll pass it to Kelsey.
Hello all, Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her pronouns, program performance manager with KCRHA, helping to co-lead the COC application process. And I will pass it to Lise.
Hi, I'm Lise. I use he and they pronouns. I am a Youth Action Board and Advisory Committee member, and I can go ahead and pass it on to, I'm not sure who hasn't gone yet. Catherine, have you gone?
Thank you, Lise. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Catherine Wells. I'm the administrative specialist for KCRHA, and I help with the advisory committee. I'll pass it to Karen.
Karen, you muted.
So Karen did ask me in the Google Meets chat, or in the Google Meets space, to let folks know that she is present. She just may not be able to speak.
Fair. Will you close us out, Sherry?
You want me to go again? Because I already went.
Oh, thank you. I think that's everybody. All righty. Okay. Will someone lead us off with a land acknowledgement? Christy?
Someone?
You are my designated go-to.
My name is Christy Hamilton. I am a daughter of the Assiniboine Sioux tribe and the Salish Kootenai tribe on both my mother's paternal and maternal tribe. I can list my lineage, which is what we do characteristically as a Native woman. I won't do that. However, it's a point of pride with us. Today, I'd like to tell you that it is National Family Day. What we do here today is very important for the families that we serve. I'd also like to tell you that September 30th is Wear Your Orange Shirt Day. And thank you to all our Indigenous neighbors to the north who have started this in a reconciliation bid with the Canadian government, who are acknowledging all of the wrongs and transgressions that have transpired over the last few hundred years with the religious bodies that have foisted immeasurable harms to the Native children's. I only hope that our government will take that hint and they will start reparations as well to our indigenous peoples, all our peoples of colors, and all the harms that they've done everybody, no matter what our skin tone is. And with that in mind, take a moment here to recognize that we are on Duwamish land. They are not a federally recognized tribe. They have been shown to be here in this area since the last ice age. This is their land. We are honored to be on it. We meet on it. And I'm honored to be a part of a group that acknowledges that we're here and we have their best interest as well as everybody else that deserves a home. Housing is a human right, and we believe in that very much. So thank you. And in my language, we say punamiyaya. That means thank you in Nakota.
Thank you. Catherine, can you pull up an agenda for today?
Sure, I will go ahead and let me see if I can share that to my screen. One moment.
Just in case you need to know, Marvin, we only have 6 members present, so we do not have a quorum for voting measures.
Okay.
Can everyone see it?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone attending. I'll now open up public comment. I will lean on others to let me know if there's anyone in the chat and or in the gallery who has raised a hand.
Okay, at present, I cannot see anyone. I am. Oh gosh. Okay.
Well, thank you. Well, the Continuum of Care keeps public comment open until the end of the meeting. If someone does show, please let us know. If questions arrive in the chat, please let us know and we will answer those questions and get back to folks as soon as possible. So that takes us to our next piece on the agenda is the Continuum of Care NOFO review of consolidated application. Hopefully folks join us and we might vote on the conditional application. I will pass this to Kelsey to lead us off.
Thank you, Marvin. And all of you who are committee members, if you would reach out to your fellow members, as we have to post the consolidated application on Wednesday, and it needs a vote on it. So crossing all my fingers and toes that others can join us in order for us to be able to get a full quorum and be able to vote. So today I am bringing forth to all of you our consolidated application. This is the final big piece of the NOFO. The NOFO is due fully to be completed and submitted by Friday. And I will pause because I see Christy has her hand up. Christy, you are still on mute if you're talking.
I'm sorry. I just called Shanae. I was going to type it in. She's on her way. I didn't know that I had the raise hand icon up, so I apologize for that, Kelsey.
It's all good. It's all good.
Real quick, Kelsey, do you mind? How many people are needed for a quorum?
9, I believe.
9 we need, yeah. So.
Okay, just curious. Sorry to interrupt you.
It's all good. So the consolidated application is like the last final big step, and it needs to be approved by the advisory committee. We have to post it publicly on the 28th. So on Wednesday, it needs to be posted on our website, and we need to then send out messaging that it is up. And then we will submit it to HUD via eSnaps, which is their online application system. My goal is on the 29th. They suggest that consolidated applicants, which KCRHA is, submit 24 to 48 hours in advance. So there's a deadline, but HUD says ignore the deadline and be early. So a work in progress full draft was sent out to all of you last week on the 21st. And I wanted to get kind of a feel of who all has been able to review that.
I did. My head hurts. That page count was unreal.
Pardon me, Marvin. It's on Tamara's hand. So rather than me like going through all of it and kind of talking at you about it, I really want to hear from you all, your reactions, responses, and areas where you have comments. So I will pull up my screen as well, so I can pull up and take notes as we are going together in order to make sure that some of those things are incorporated. There are 2 pieces to be aware of when it comes to the NOFO and the responses. One is the character count. We are limited in some of our questions. There are lots of strange abbreviations. So we have tried to get in as much information in some of those questions with the tight character limits. And the other is it is also being reviewed. We've had multiple people internally. We've got a couple folks at the county who are also reading it to make sure we're answering the questions. Because there's a tendency that folks have with just this application to talk about what we want to talk about and not answer the questions. So those are kind of 2 things that I'm trying to keep in mind. With all of that being said, I am going to pull up, yes. Christy.
I do have something to say now. Both Ben and Shanae are here as attendees. I wonder if Catherine could pull them over, please. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Christy.
So we've
I've been pulling people over as I see them.
Thank you. I didn't know if you saw them. I was just kind of keeping an eye out since we do need a quorum today. Thank you, Catherine.
We're 1 away from quorum. Oh, thank you all so much. So I will share my screen. I'm going to pull up the application that we have in our Google Sheets. This is where we're doing the work on the NOFO collectively, and then kind of just want to go through with all of you different questions that stood out to you, responses that you would want to see changes to, and take notes right now to incorporate those things. So let me get my screen up so I can share. All right. So this is the space we have been working on. I think there have been 8 or 9 folks internally at KCRHA who've been working on this. We also reached out to some individuals at the LEC, at Skitch, the Seattle King County Coalition on Homelessness. We reached out to Martha Sassarosi, who works with King County and was focusing and holding some of the youth programs on information. So this has kind of been a big effort to get lots of info and feedback. And I am going to pause and stop talking and ask all of you any particular questions or sections that stood out to all of you or that you have questions on. Yes, Christy.
Of course,
Oh, you just muted.
I'm going to pipe right up so we don't waste your time. Our big concern, of course, is recentering community and to bring new providers in to change the paradigm, instead of just funding the same old. Can you tell us, specifically me, since I don't work in the housing sector, who exactly or how did you determine, because I was trying to get on that rating and ranking and boy, was that a hoofty-doo. So if you could go over that a little bit, how and who you chose to give new or present new monies to, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, that is a wonderful question. And I may pass that over to Jen. Jen's been leading a lot of that. So I will pass it to Jen.
Thank you. Great question, Christy, and apologies on behalf of the team for the issues with the rating. I hope to be able to collaborate with you on that in the future. Shawnee kind of let me know of some of the delays around that, so thank you and apologies. How we went about, so we put out a RFP for the new permanent supportive housing bonus money, or I'm sorry, a letter of interest for the permanent supportive housing bonus dollars. So with the letter of interest, it was very high level as far as what we asked of applicants, just to basically kind of screen in whether or not they might be able to provide that type of programming for the COC. And then, so that was one process, letter of interest for permanent supportive housing. And then we had DV bonus dollars, which also included the potential to add additional money to the coordinated entry line that's specific for gender-based violence. So we had also a letter of interest type of process for the coordinated entry. We weren't sure exactly how much money they wanted, and we wanted to make sure we didn't kind of box ourselves in any way with that DV bonus, like total funds allowed. So we just kind of kept that open to allow them to ask what they wanted out of the sort of bigger pot of DV bonus money, while also running an RFP for the DV rapid rehousing specific bonus money. So we had a kind of a more full application process for that. The outcome of that was that one new additional provider, API Chaya, which focuses on the API community, centered in Seattle, in the International District is where they're located, but they kind of go everywhere. They were, yep.
API to me means Alaska Psychiatric Institute. What does API mean?
Asian Pacific Islander in this context, of course. So they were a brand new organization to the Continuum of Care. As folks know, some of you may know, there was a, very similar to the rest of our RFP processes, a community-based rating panel of folks with lived experience, and then also other program expertise. But I think this panel was all specific to folks with lived experience. And had a lot of, expertise related to DV and then permanent supportive housing as well. So based off of the recommendations of those panels is how the awards were essentially made. So API Chaya was one. The other one was the YWCA, which is a currently contracted rapid rehousing program for survivors. But we basically expanded money and then kind of combined the applications with API Chaya. API Chaya is slightly newer to the housing space. They provide lots of housing connections, but being an actual housing provider themselves, we felt like strategically combining those applications would help us as a COC kind of leverage the experience of the YWCA and hopefully help to be more successful, just, you know, as a continuum of care. So that was that body. The Coalition Ending Gender-Based Violence didn't ask for more than kind of what was allotted to that area. So it worked as far as being able to fund their additional needs. And it was really around continuing to build the capacity and policies and procedures for that line, considering it's only what, like a year or so old, maybe 2 years now. So still in its beginning phases. And then after we were able to identify a couple, or the rating panel identified a couple organizations to move forward with the permit supportive housing, we asked for more robust applications compared to the letter of interest asks. And that is where DESC Green Lake was chosen. And I am totally blanking on the other one. I'm so sorry, guys. Kelsey, help me out.
Yeah.
Struggling with organization.
Friends of Youth Francis Village, PSH. This is the first youth-specific PSH that we are funding through the Continuum. And then a new organization, Opening Doors to Multicultural Families. Their midst support team providing support for PSH was also selected, and they're a new organization focusing on individuals and families with intellectual and developmental disabilities, which is a kind of a new niche also within the Continuum. So the two new organizations that we have brought in through this new funding availability was Opening Doors for Multicultural Families and API Chaya. And bringing on new programs is always contingent upon available dollars and typically the bonus funds. And we will be actively working on building out a more robust review process for next year. Have lots of ideas that have come from the advisory committee and the subcommittee in, you know, how we can incorporate more like site visits and participant interviews when we do the local renewal process. So really looking forward to bringing that into how we, you know, go about deciding what renewals will be like for the coming years.
For that. Thank you so much for that detailed outlook, because that's kind of what we're looking at for FY 2023. And two questions is, how many applications did you have and how many did it break your heart to turn down? And how many were on the cusp of just being, oh, if you'd only been a little more robust, or if you'd only been able to flesh this out. And by this time next year, we hope to have an initiative in place to help you. We hope to be community centered because we have the advocacy to help you fill these forms out to be HUD friendly and NOFO direct. So yay. I'll know what those terms mean, and I'll even know what API means by then. So thank you so much for explaining that to me and bringing me on board. Thank you. This gets more exciting the more I learn.
Of course, thanks for the question. It's really important. And yeah, we have accountability to make sure that we continue to lead these processes with integrity and living KCRHA's mission and theory of change. So please continue to, you know, ask the hard questions. I also wanted to just add to that the kind of just what, based off of what you just, the comment you just left, we also encouraged, especially the permanent supportive housing applicants who were not chosen, to apply or reapply, build upon their letter of interest for the SNOFO. Because permanent supportive housing is also eligible, and the new money, we've been calling it the SNOFO or the special NOFO, which is currently in process right now. That's up to $14 million over 3 years. So yes, it's never good, and it's very common to have to, you know, turn a proposer away because there's always more asked than there is money. But this time we actually had sort of like a backup to be able to say, hey, it didn't work out this round for X, Y, and Z, but we have another round of funds for the very same thing, you know, a week later. And everybody, for the most part, applied for that round, and we'll see. We don't know the outcomes of that yet. But
now, when you say PSH, are you talking about entities like Plymouth and Alliance and Bellwether that are building a lot of low-income, quote, affordable housing facilities?
Yes, some of those organizations did express some interest this round. But within the permanent supportive housing model. So that could be scattered site, that could be leveraging vouchers, which we highly encouraged, or it could be place-based as well. So like, yeah, they actually did build the building and own that. So yeah, a variety of different kind of construction makeups for the eligibility for those. Mm-hmm.
Other questions or parts of the consolidated app that stood out to folks? If nothing quite fully comes yet to mind, there are a couple sections that I wanted to highlight to get all of your input on. There were a couple that we weren't able to get you full question responses to in time. So we have update responses for those. And the first section was about partnerships with public health agencies and collaborating in response to prevent the spread of infectious disease, not to spread them. And our colleague, Tony Machacha, who was helping lead a lot of this, particularly when the Omicron surge hit, was able to provide some responses for us. So really wanted to kind of go through those. I see a comment in the chat. We do have quorum. Fantastic. Thank you all who have joined. So appreciate it. So the question is partnerships around it. And they want us to describe how we develop COC-wide policies and procedures to respond to infectious disease outbreaks and prevent infectious disease outbreaks among people experiencing homelessness. So those responses include COC Medical Director partners with public health in City of Seattle. I'm not reading. COC Medical Director partners with public health of City of Seattle and King County to develop effective responses guided by racial equity and social justice principles through the Pandemic and Racism Community Advisory Board. Comprised of representatives from community, business, and government sectors in King County, working to slow the spread of COVID-19 by accelerating the use of recommended and required community mitigation strategies. The group shares information and urges action within their respective networks, informing public health on reality to prevent, interrupt, and respond to misinformation and stigma. COC worked with public health and providers on isolation and quarantine of clients testing positive for COVID within shelter. COC obtained umbrella CLIA waiver from state that included over 15 providers facing barriers to obtaining CLIA waivers on their own. COC also broadcast availability of free COVID-19 test kits and N95 masks and facilitated their distribution to providers. COC acts as a link for smaller providers and self-managed encampments to receive air purifiers from Public Healthcare for the Homeless Network by aggregating supply requests and managing the distribution to unhoused residents. So that was our initial response on collaboration that we have. Are there any kind of questions, responses? We do have some character count availability. Marvin.
Availability, or are we over?
We are not over. We are under character count. So we can add information here very easily. Not very easily.
So what's the red 1242?
This is the total character limit.
Yes.
So just so it stands out a little bit more, our total limit is 2,500 characters.
Fair.
I wonder, didn't we, or King County or whoever, do a lot of de-intensifying the shelter, congregate shelters to not have so much air breathing in the same? Yeah.
Yes.
That's a pretty important one, I think, because that's got to be a hard task to de-intensify congregate shelters when that's the primary shelter setup for so many shelters. It's yucky.
Yep. Why don't I add in here? I can add in a sentence on COC continued efforts to decongregate shelters and stand up hotel-based emergency housing. To reduce disease outbreak.
Yeah.
Thanks for flagging that. I'm going to share with you all quickly my color coding. Green are the things that have been reviewed. We haven't made changes since we sent this out to you all. Purple are ones that have had edits or comments on them since we sent them out. And I see, Christy, I see your hand.
Again, I may be taking this too literal, but self-managed encampments receiving air purifiers, how does that work? If you're in an encampment and you've got an air purifier?
Those, I believe, were focused on like Share Wheel in Nicholsville. So the tiny house village encampments that are self-sustained.
Okay.
And self-managed.
We refer to them as self-managed encampments rather than tiny homes.
Well, there's a difference between the two. What we were able to contract with and why we say self-managed encampments, which probably should be self-managed communities, were those folks that were creating shelter for others. Communities for others that were legal, which means the city and the county recognized them as operators, but chose not to fund them. However, in this way, they worked in conjunction with city and county efforts to meet this need, much in the way for the first time our board works.
With those communities.
Yeah.
Self-managed, unsheltered communities. That sounds better.
Yes.
When I think encampment, I think tent. And so air purifier in a tent is self-defeating. Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for raising that, Christy. Any other kind of thoughts or comments on these two question sets?
I don't have anything. This is Karen. I just want to say hi, and I've been listening. I'm gonna keep listening, but I probably can't unmute as quickly as you guys will need me to. So if I don't respond, just keep pushing. I'm with you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
And happy to have you pop in when, even if we're on another topic, if you've got a thought, please bring it. Awesome. So there's another question set around public health that I want to show and go over with all of you as well. So the next set is DA1 or 1D8A. I don't have all of these question sets memorized quite yet. Some of them I do. So this one is further elaborating on collaboration with public health entities regarding infectious disease. So the first question is to share information related, pardon me. Let me start at the beginning. Describe in the field how the COC effectively equipped providers to prevent or limit infectious disease outbreaks among program participants by 1, sharing information related to public health and health measures and homelessness, and 2, facilitating communication between public health agencies and homeless service providers to ensure street outreach providers and shelter and housing providers and shelter and housing providers. That's a lot of redundancy in this question. To make sure shelter and housing providers are equipped to prevent or limit infectious disease programs among program participants. So our responses: COC staff compiled and distributed electronically and verbally at meetings the latest guidance on COVID-19 control from Public Health's Healthcare for the Homeless Network to providers, and updated communiques as soon as something new came up to Public Health of Seattle King County. COC staff attended weekly COVID-19 homeless provider calls posted by Public Health Seattle King County to hear new information and share among provider networks, raised issues or concerns from providers, especially on isolation and quarantine, and handled CLIA waivers to allow staff to oversee COVID-19 testing and reporting. COC also broadcast availability of free COVID-19 test kits and N95 masks and facilitated their distribution to providers. Thoughts, comments, reactions?
So is it acknowledged elsewhere where the coordinated entry developed COVID prioritizations that help guide existing and new folks entering into the system?
Yes, we have that in our section on coordinated entry. We talk a lot about COVID prioritization.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts or reactions? All right. If they do, please share them, comment, come off mute, whatever way is most effective for you.
If we're trying to, prove that we're program participant-centered approach to centralized or coordinated entry by the collaboration with public health, you can say we continue to meet on Zoom and not in person as an agency following guidelines set by the CDC or whatever. I don't know if that helps your standard there, but it may be common knowledge and a no-brainer, but it also is, I don't know if you want to put that in, you know what I'm saying? Continue to be a Zoom, so we were good stewards of we were good model citizens. I don't know what you want to put in there. You know what I'm trying to say. You can figure out a way to say it.
Yes.
So and I do cough and breathe on each other. Yeah.
Yep. I do in what question section? I want to say it is in an earlier question section on public meetings.
Oh, is it? So we
that we have a comment. Yeah.
State, city laws. Okay. So if that's already in there, then that's not specific to that. Okay. So if you've already addressed that, then we've done our due diligence in meeting that parameter. Okay, never mind.
So one section, yes, Marvin.
Just real quick, the secondary maybe not as pronounced part of this. As we finish this process, we'll be building on for what 2023's process will entail. If we don't get all of the wording we want to have better place to start. And that's done by, that is accomplished by hopefully what we do in these types of meetings. I want to thank everybody again for adding this special session. Okay, Matt, turn it back over to Kelsey.
Awesome. Yeah, would love as we work on this next year to have more kind of working sessions, I think, with the advisory committee as well, as we begin the consolidated application process. So the next section that we added in some language here is around program participant-centered approach to centralized or coordinated entry. So a colleague raised wanting to include the changes in demographics after implementing COVID prioritization into coordinated entry. So that is in part 2 of this question, to talk about how we ensure that people in most need of assistance receive assistance in a timely manner. And the section is to prioritize people most in need of assistance. And this response has some additions at the end, so I'll read the full response. Recognizing COVID impacts, CE, coordinated entry, currently uses COVID prioritization based on guidelines issued by HUD and the Washington State Department of Commerce and Public Health. Households prioritized for CE resources are able to access resources regardless of program type. Under the new COVID prioritization method, a larger share of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, BIPOC households were prioritized relative to previous interim prioritization method. This was most pronounced for American Indian, Alaska Native, Black African American, Hispanic Latinx, and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander households. A slightly smaller share of multiracial households and no Asian households were prioritized under COVID prioritization in 2020. These shifts were expected, given that COVID prioritization explicitly prioritizes households who identify as racial or ethnic groups that have had a disproportionately high risk for hospitalization and death from COVID-19. These prioritized identities include American Indian, Alaska Native, Black African American, Hispanic Latinx, and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander, as well as multiracial individuals who identify as at least one of those identities.
So what was the percentage increase for Alaska Native American Indian housing?
Oh, that is a question for Alex Ibrahimi. I will ping him right now and ask.
Yeah, ping him. We went over we had a chance to look at some of the percentages. It's just not an easy thing to bring up.
We're in here, American Indian, Alaska Native provider agencies to Reshores are connected. And then down here, we're listed again. And then the third time we're listed again. So rather than just be word salad, you know, show that you're doing what you say you're doing, please.
Well, the caution always is there's a character count. If we have to figure out what to take away if we want to put in a digit number and a percentage sign.
I didn't ask her to put anything in, Marvin. I just asked her the question.
Oh,
directed to Kelsey. Yeah.
Yep.
Clean ears up, Marvin.
Messaging Alex right now about the increase with COVID prioritization from the interim prioritization.
Correct, right, from 2020 to the new one, yeah. And of course, that number is going to go up, right, from next year. Have anybody seen the new Native community that was built down on Second and Second Extension, the new transitional / apartments for Native Americans that's attached to the Chief Seattle Club? Yeah, you've seen them? Yeah. Are they eligible for permanent supportive housing monies? And have they applied? That's kind of a personal question, but.
I believe so. They didn't apply in this round. And I know we did some outreach about them applying for SNOFO monies. Because they have also another building that should open in 2023.
Okay, so we'll get them, we'll do some outreach there. Okay, thank you, Kelsey. And we'll wait for Alex, just want to see that percentage go up. So thank you.
Yep, I will put a note here. To include those.
And Native Hawaiians too. Pacific Islanders.
Yep, I will see if we can get those increases for all the populations mentioned.
Right.
And I will ping Alex.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right.
Do we get to edit all 347 pages of this with you today, Kelsey?
We are going to go through as much as possible. Some of those 300 are attachments. And some of them are like the housing authority policies and things that we need to include. So we don't need to go through those and edit them. So my focus is going to be on, I think, the 64 pages that is the application responses itself. And I'm going to go through as much as I possibly can in the next hour.
And we're on page 5. I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with all the ones where there's either been changes or new information or we didn't have stuff to get all of that. And then we will go to any other sections that folks have comments, reactions, responses. So the next section that we have, this was the increasing affordable housing supply. And I currently have Nigel Herbig, who is our kind of intergovernmental relations person in this space. We've asked him if he would review it and see if there's anything that we're missing. So he may be working on it as we work on it. But this question, they want us to provide examples on how we are working to increase affordable housing supply through either meeting with elected or non-elected officials, attending zoning meetings, submitting comments to officials, letter writing campaigns. So they want us to describe at least 2 steps that we've taken in the past 12 months to engage with different entities regarding 2 pieces. 1, reforming zoning and land use policies to permit more housing development, and 2, reduce regulatory barriers to housing development. So this was finalized by Peter, worked on this, and then we're having Nigel also review it. So our responses as currently stands, COC actively partners with King County Affordable Housing Committee, which includes county and multiple city elected and non-elected officials, created to increase affordable housing supply. AHS, we'll be using that acronym, through regional collaboration, affordable unit production, especially near transit, and expansion of housing diversity. Affordable housing policy checklist posted on regional dashboard listing every municipality with zoning and land use policy compliance for transparency and accountability, including incentive and inclusionary zoning, multifamily tax exemptions. So in reducing regulatory barriers, this is a little bit repetitive, I will say, but we are doing very similar things for both pieces. So in reducing regulatory barriers, COC currently partners with the King County Affordable Housing Committee, which includes county and multiple city elected and non-elected officials, created to increase affordable housing supply through regional collaboration, affordable unit production, especially near transit, and expansion of housing diversity. Affordable housing policy checklist posted on regional dashboard, listing every municipality and regulatory barrier removal for transparency, including elimination of parking requirements, planned action EIS, permitting prioritization towards marginalized groups not currently represented in systems to serve those experiencing homelessness.
So we're just partnering. That's all we're doing. That's the only verb in that whole thing. What are we doing? We're partnering. We do so much more, but that sounds like that's the lingo that Ed wants to hear. Am I correct in that? It sounds pretty staid and stoic and stuffy. But you're the grant writer, so lead us.
No, I
would offer that would discount a lot of work that some board members that are in attendance today actually put to the writing.
I write letters to officials, right? But as not as a board member.
Yeah.
And as we figure out how to make those campaigns part of the ongoing work of the Continuum of Care, once again, I got another box to check for our 2023 applications. Can we show these other steps in the way that we do it?
Yeah, your 2023 COC board's going to be awesome, Kelsey.
Looking forward to it. I am making some notes here, especially as Nigel reviews these.
Okay, I see that. Good, yeah.
So what beyond partnering have we done that we can point to?
We talk a lot about, especially Tamara's kind of she's a backyard activist, talking about getting involved with legislation and policy and procedure, and how can we address our Congress people and let them see that things are changing, you know, on the micro level and then the macro level. So, and that starts with us. And I think that's what Recentering Communities does with the Full Frame Initiative. That's where we're at. But again, that we're partnering.
Yep, I'm gonna ping Nigel in this as well for him to review, since he works really closely with legislation as particularly at the state level, to see if there's any like explicit examples that we can provide in here, so that it packs a bit more oomph to it. Any other kind of responses to this section?
What about the individual impact that we have as the work that we do in our day-to-day work? I mean, that doesn't count what we do as a board, but it certainly drives us and informs us as members. How would you characterize that, or how would you bring that into the conversation? Or is that not even something we want to look at?
You know,
I would hope we'd create no barriers for our board members to continue all of the good advocacy in which they do by any limitations put on from a systemically racist process, which has shown no way or reason to change. So I would want to guard our ability to be part of the process and not be weighed or valued on the other work that we know is needed to destigmatize this type of process. And if we could ever figure out how together as a board to be able to push the needle back to the middle or the left, then I would want to put it in there.
Ben just had a lovely thing to say. Ben.
Well, I was just, sorry, I'm a little behind in my notes, but I was just, I was not sure if KCRHA was involved with passing House Bill 1220 last year.
I think
if we want to talk about, you know, our efficacy at changing zoning rules to place shelter in supportive housing, like that seems.
That's a proactive stance. Yeah, that's better than just partnering. Right on.
But I don't remember if, like, were we involved with its passage?
Nigel will find out. He now has more on his plate.
Yep, it is on his. I was not here yet in 2021, so I don't know.
I guess that's fair.
But I will definitely make sure to follow up with Nigel, and also after this be like, Nigel, I signed a lot of things to you. Please get it to me by noon tomorrow. But thank you for lifting that up, Ben. All right, I will move us forward. Again, if things come up from prior sections, please bring those in. So this next section, this is about posting the piece on the web. I have to post it on Wednesday. So I have placeholders saying that I posted it on Wednesday. And this is my other placeholder saying that we're gonna notify community members and key stakeholders that I posted this on Wednesday, and I'm gonna do that on Wednesday. So those are my reminders that cannot forget to do that. So keep an eye out for an email about announcing the publishing of the consolidated application on Wednesday. All right, my next section. So we have a couple updates. So we have one section that is about reducing length of time homeless and the COC strategy. We made some updates to a couple questions. I don't remember which ones, but so I'm going to go through both of the two kind of meaty responses as the final response is just naming KCRHA. So we want to talk about the strategy to reduce the average length of time that individuals or families remain homeless. So the first part of the question is to describe the COC strategy to reduce length of time individuals and persons and families remain homeless. And then second, describe how your COC identifies and houses individuals and persons and families with the longest lengths of time homeless. So the responses that we have here, COC uses a housing first approach with all people experiencing homelessness in King County, recognizing that housing with appropriate supports to meet the need is the only durable solution to homelessness. Regional strategy to address needs folks in the sorry, some of this is we had to fiddle around with for character counts. Regional strategy to address needs in the continuum is to deploy a suite of field-based and site-specific service interventions that meet people where they are and provide connectivity to the full range of housing and service resources available to the continuum. COC employs diversion approach system-wide, centralized housing location focused on finding units through partnership with Housing Connector, and increased investment in rapid rehousing and PSH, permanent supportive housing. COC plans to expand tenant-based rental assistance system-wide to offer more flexible housing options. Evidence from EHV housing rate indicates this method can and will quickly move more households into housing and reduce length of time households experience homelessness. I need to add a word. The second part of identifying folks, the COC utilizes robust HMIS system to accurately collect the numbers, characteristics of people experiencing homelessness to identify and house individuals and families with the longest length of stay and homeless response system. Housing navigators are instrumental to continue to engage with households who are not yet connected to housing to ensure continued household contact, eligibility readiness once housing identified. The COC further committed to rapid rehousing as a strategy for reducing length of time. Using one-time ESG CV funding, the COC designed pilot rapid rehousing program to embed program enrollment and support within shelter buildings. The intentional linkage of shelter to rapid rehousing programming is designed to produce faster, more successful exits to permanent housing, which will reduce household length of stay. The COC also adopted COC-wide rapid rehousing guidelines, showing results for fidelity to best practices. Additional technical assistance to using young adult rapid rehousing providers by virtual peer learnings. COC transitional housing providers continue to strengthen programming, with some converting to permanent housing to better serve the households. Thoughts, responses, reactions, things we're missing, not hitting on.
I wonder if we should mention like landlord recruitment and landlord engagement as one of the strategies for shortening a person or families experiencing homelessness. Because without landlords and property management, yeah, we need them as partners to create opportunities for folks.
Yep, I'm going to add that under the focus on finding units to add, as well as more proactive landlord recruitment and engagement. Yeah. That's great. I see a chat comment.
Oh, that was just a message. Natalie just messaged me, said she couldn't get on Zoom. I don't know what that's about, but she's been invited per Marvin's on this meeting to our next COC meeting. So
Great.
Sorry.
Awesome.
This is true.
I wonder with number 2, it's not direct, but like it's definitely part of shortening someone's experience of homelessness, is if we're, you know, changing not just laws and policies, but shifting the culture around homelessness to make it less of a like a risk for landlords, you know. Changing the narrative and changing how our culture views homelessness as a human rights, you know, a human. It's just that vulnerability. Everyone is vulnerable at some point in their lives, and so why is it that folks experiencing homelessness are punished for that, you know? So I just
like making homelessness a crime.
Yes, the criminalization of homelessness. It's ridiculous.
Okay, the criminalization. We're trying to destigmatize the criminalization of homelessness.
Yeah, and that's just, I mean, that's a huge one that prolongs a person's experience of homelessness.
It is, yeah. Good point.
And they're institutionalized. They're jailed. They're fined. They're beaten up. It's just. Ugh.
And those are barriers, yeah. I noticed 2 typos in the next one. I don't know where. I know we're not there yet.
Perfect. Yeah, Google Sheets doesn't highlight those spelling mistakes.
Okay, you're almost okay. When you're done, I'll tell you where it is.
Okay, so to the previous point, I will also take this comment on shifting narrative.
You're okay. It's not. Oh, sorry, my cat.
So I've got COC also works to diligently shift narrative on homelessness and working to reduce stigma about those experiencing homelessness, particularly with landlords and property managers. Okay. I'll take that out as a comment because I added it in.
If you want to make it in the pluperfect sense, you want to use the word works instead of working.
Thank you.
And works to reduce stigma. You're not involved in this conversation. Hush. You're not homeless. No, you're starving.
Oh, is that your kitty?
You hear her? Yeah.
I love it.
You are not a homeless, starving cat. Me.
All right, and I know in the second one you said there are a couple spelling pieces.
Where it's about halfway down, it says the intentional linkage. Linkage should have an E on the end.
Yep, thank you.
Welcome. And then I want to go down a little more. Oh, that shifted the whole sentence. And support needs a space between
it. Yes, I will say in some of the responses, I do not have spaces between and some of the words for the character count, but for this one, we should be good.
Oh, okay.
But I will note there will be, especially in the section about the DV bonus, some of those narratives I had to get very creative on character count.
Can you abbreviate, because I noticed that you use a lot of lingo So like households, when I used to do energy assistance in Alaska, they were abbreviated to HHS.
Yep.
But do you have to spell out the word households?
No, as long as we have it, we have a
Once.
few spaces where we abbreviate it HH.
Okay.
It's all about kind of where do I need to abbreviate because I don't have the character count, and where can we use the full word so we can explain it's more clear because we have the character count.
We're going to put you in a cave with candles and ink and a quill, and you're going to have to handwrite this all out.
I think I would sprain my hand. Oh.
I'm going to quit whining over the expense reports I have to submit for another job, Kelsey. Thank you for humbling me.
Oh, I am lucky that I have not done this alone. So I'm very grateful for that. All right, so the other one that we added some updates to, there's this one that actually needs to get updated to 2000. Is exits to permanent housing, destinations, and retention of permanent housing, the COC's strategy. So this one, we also had a couple of updates on them. So the first part is describe your COC's strategy to increase the rate that individuals and persons and families residing in emergency shelter, safe havens, transitional housing, and rapid rehousing exit to permanent housing destinations. And 2, describe your COC's strategy to increase the rate of individuals and persons residing in permanent housing projects retain their permanent housing or exit to permanent housing destinations. So first is about non-permanent programs. So strategy to increase the rate of exits to permanent housing includes increased scale and focused resources. Targeting EHV referrals to emergency shelter, safe haven, DV transitional housing programs to ensure rapid match to permanent housing. We had 2,000 referrals total. Create rapid rehousing to EHV, progressive engagement for rapid rehousing individuals that need long-term subsidy. There were 169. Expand funding for rapid rehousing through the CARES Act, $6.2 million, and local revenue, a total of $8.5 million, with increased flexibility for longer stayers. Include direct access to housing-oriented, flexible funding, diversion resources, and emergency shelter and safe haven programs. Increase funding to local landlord engagement provider Housing Connector to recruit new rental stock. Expand legal services to address past debt and eviction. Employment education services, increase technical assistance and accountability measures for underperformers. And second, about supporting folks to retain permanent housing or exit to other permanent housing destinations. Efforts to increase retention rate for permanent housing include increased investment in prevention case management for households with previous homeless history, added conflict mediation, dispute resolution, and family reunification services and training to suite of retention supports, new cross-sector partnerships with mainstream employment and education services to increase and maintain employment, expanded move-on strategy and permanent supportive housing, leverage Medicaid housing supports, on-site nursing support through levies, expanded use of coordinated entry mobility transfer policy to relocate when all other efforts exhausted, increased quarterly review of exits and program terminations to intervene on program level to identify patterns and provide technical assistance to decrease likelihood household will be exited for behavioral health reasons or behavioral reasons. System-wide increase to eviction prevention assistance to cover arrears or missed payments due to economic constraints related to continued impacts of COVID and prior eviction moratorium. I was checking where our character count is. So we do have some space here. But thoughts, reactions.
So is this the space where we've found dollars for rental assistance through the COVID period and how much that was?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that was, yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, I will move us forward to our other purple sections. Oh, this one, I had to update what programs different projects are leveraging. So we have, there are some added points that will be provided to COCs that reallocate dollars to programs leveraging healthcare and housing. And these are two of the programs that are new programs that are leveraging healthcare and housing or both, or one or the other. So Francis Village Permanent Supportive Housing, they will be leveraging housing subsidies. So I need to actually update this because I believe it's just housing subsidies. And then DESC Green Lake will be leveraging healthcare supports. So wanted to make sure that we put in those updates as we confirmed those with both of those providers. Okay, and then some of the areas where we have further information or updates that we made or changes that we made were in the DV bonus section. So want to pull those up for all of you. This was a similar one. We made a change about the total award amount. We initially had a lower amount where it's a bit higher. So wanted to update that. In assessing the need that we have, we updated these initial numbers. These were based on last year's numbers, but we got updated information, updated numbers from an annual performance review report from HMIS. So the estimated need of survivors that need housing or services is about 6,000. And number of survivors our COC is currently serving. So our current DV COC funded programs pulled from a report about 2,386. So that will auto calculate in eSnaps to show the unmet need, which is about like 3,700. So that indicates, that would show to HUD that yes, we need these new programs so we can serve more DV survivors. So we have some updated information that we will be putting in. The next is how we calculated that. So updated those pieces to reflect how that was calculated, looking at also placement and retention exits. So we used calculation from our HMIS and looking at comparable database for DV projects for enrollments and services between April 1st, 2021 to March 31st, 2022. That was the time we also looked at renewal projects. So wanted to have streamlined dates of when we're looking at data. The other piece here that I want to highlight, so we looked at our subrecipient, all of our subrecipient DV programs that we currently have, to look at their placement and retention rates. So our current placement rate to get DV survivors into housing or into programs is 89%. So at that moment of time when information was pulled, 89% of folks who were enrolled were in housing. And then we have a retention rate. So folks who stayed in rapid housing or exited into permanent housing was 87%. So got some of that information updated. And we don't need to answer the last question because we demonstrate an unmet need based on the numbers that we have. The next section is about the project applicants and their experiences. So we needed to just update some of the information on priority list ranking, and then I updated the retention and housing rates. So that was information that was updated. We then have this section, which was also then again updating the data points on both housing placement and housing retention. So bringing in the 89% placement and 87% retention, and updating the data source dates that were pulled to gather that information. Some very fun details all about where the data is coming from. So those are all the sections where there have been changes or updates from the time that this was sent to you on the 21st and today. And it looks like Nigel made some comments on the affordable housing section. So I wanted to pull those up and see if we can look at his comments collectively. Okay. Well, if I can find where the comments are. Where is where? Okay, we wrote a public comment letter to the Bellevue City Council. Okay. And so Mark was hired after the 2021 legislative session. So we did not have any input on 1220 because we didn't really exist yet. I am going to respond to Nigel here to ask what the letter was referring to. Okay. So those are all the new updates, and wanting to kind of turn to all of you if there were other sections that you wanted to review or go over together, noting that we have half an hour. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of turn it to all of you.
Well, one thing that I think maybe for a future like COC advisory board meeting would be to invite Nigel, so that we can learn a little bit more about what KCRHA is doing legislatively, or at the at a different level than where we're at, because maybe that some of us might want to participate in some of these like campaigns and messaging and letter writing, and because I personally try to get my participants to do that, because I find their voice is more valuable than really anyone else's. And so if there's a way that we can get involved in that as well, that would be great.
Yeah, awesome. Any other sections or thoughts that y'all have?
Well, I was really hoping we could at least hear about the number of what the percentage of increases were.
Yep. Alex said he would get that shortly. 23 minutes ago.
It may be coming now.
Yeah.
I chose a strategic place to sit while we had this meeting.
Oh, perfect. So keep our eye on this little area here. If we see an A pop up, that means Alex is in the document. So we'll see if we get that while he is while we are here. Yeah. Other thoughts, comments, areas y'all want to look at? I can also, why don't I pull up, so I have a question tracker here, and I can go over kind of the themes and see if there's a particular question theme set that you all would want to look at. So we have one area talking about coordination and engagement. So the inclusion structure of the COC and the COC board, coordination and engagement with federal, local, state, and private and other organizations. So focused particularly on the Emergency Solutions Grant, as well as school districts and youth serving entities, addressing needs of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking survivors. We have a section on addressing the needs of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer plus, anti-discrimination policies and training. A section on, I hear a yes to that one.
Yeah, that sounds interesting to me. I mean, they're all interesting, but that one's caught my eye.
Yep. So that is 1C6. So let me pull up that question set. So last year, there were only these yes or no questions. Oh, that's not the correct section. Let me get to the correct question set. So there are only these 3 questions regarding LGBTQ plus support and anti-discrimination policies. This year, there's a narrative section as well. So they want to know if we have a policy. They want to know if we do a COC-wide training, and they want to know if we do another training, 2 different trainings. One on the equal access rule, which means that people can't be turned away from services based upon gender identity. And the other one is on the gender identity rule, that people have to be offered services that meet their gender identity. So if somebody is a trans male, they should not be referred to a women's shelter because that is not the gender they identify with. So those are the 3 things. And then the narrative part is what I think is the most important, because a yes or no question is a yes or no.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah, and this was one of HUD's this year, a new emphasis. So they had 2, the other one was including much more narrative on racial equity and addressing racial disparities. And then this one on anti-discrimination policies, and both updating, assisting providers, and evaluating compliance. So there were four narrative questions, which might not seem like a lot, but in the NOFO is a lot. So there was wanting to respond on the gender identity rule and the equal access rule. And there are 4 pieces. Whether your COC updates its anti-discrimination policy as necessary based on provider feedback, how the COC assisted providers in developing project level anti-discrimination policies that are, consistent with the COC-wide policy to ensure that LGBTQ plus individuals and families receive supportive services, shelter, and housing free from discrimination. The process to evaluate compliance with those anti-discrimination policies, and then the process for addressing non-compliance. So coordinated with the Ombuds office on some of these responses. So first, on whether we update the policy, and I will say we have a policy that was developed, I believe, in 2018, and I don't think it's been reviewed since then. So wanted to flag that as a late 2022, 2023 COC board activity potentially for you all to be reviewing. So first, when stakeholder feedback is both solicited and provided to the COC regarding the current anti-discrimination policies, recommendations are discussed and drafted with the COC Advisory Committee. The AC then votes on any proposed changes to implement COC-wide. The policy is reviewed and updated as needed through this process. How we assist providers to develop policies. The COC assists providers on updating and improving project level policies throughout the year. During annual monitoring, KCRHA reviews each policy and provides recommendations to better align with COC-wide language and practice. COC looks at ensuring that LGBTQ plus folks receive supportive services, shelter, and housing free from discrimination, as well as how each project has effectively implemented equal access rule and gender identity final rule. Assistance is provided should project level issues arise in our Ombuds office. Via Ombuds process, project staff support supported to review and reevaluate anti-discrimination policies and practices to ensure participant experience accounted for in policy updates. This one I had to do some truncating because our character count. So if it sounds a little funny, that is why. Our process to evaluate compliance. Through annual review process, COC evaluates project level anti-discrimination policies to ensure alignment. Compliance evaluation occurs on an ongoing basis through coordinated entry assessment of referrals and households via a review of denials and in coordination with the Ombuds Office. KCRHA Ombuds Office receives inquiries and complaints from community members served by KCRHA provider or contracted program, residents of shelter, transitional housing or permanent supportive housing, providers who contract with KCRHA, employees or contractors of KCRHA. We assist the above groups by providing information and referrals to resources, helping KCRHA constituents navigate a problem or issue, and investigating more serious concerns. And then our how we address noncompliance. If constituent raises an issue related to discrimination, we use the above process to determine what would be best method to resolve complaint. For example, Ombuds Office may refer a discrimination matter to the Office of Civil Rights or start an investigation if we have jurisdiction to address the alleged conduct. At end of the investigation, if the evidence demonstrates that anti-discrimination policies have been violated, Ombuds Office will make recommendations to all parties on how to best prevent and address discrimination in the provision of homeless services. For continued incidents of discrimination, KCRHA will implement performance improvement plan and consider ending contracted services with the provider.
Yeah. I'd like to learn more about Ombuds too. So and maybe have Katara come over. And, that's good.
Is that an ask for our next meeting?
Yeah, Nigel and Katara. If we could just have all the KCRHA staff.
We'll work on that.
Awesome. Well, any thoughts, things that you would want to add in here? I will do a caveat that we have very little character count that we can fiddle around with, but doesn't mean we can't rephrase, reverbiage something.
Reverbiage is my new favorite word.
Well, maybe it's a real word.
I'm looking it up right now.
Perfect.
Well, I do have feedback, but it's probably more relevant to the next round of NOFO. Just earlier today, I was talking to a participant who had a really unpleasant experience with one of the COC projects. And it is one that has been historically funded over and over and over again without any kind of, checks and balances for how they deliver services. So, yeah, I guess it just came to the top of my mind because it was earlier today. So I guess I'll just bring that back for the next round.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got a list of NOFO debrief pieces that have been on both my mind and things that have come up through AC conversations and other pieces. So definitely want to bring that up. And I think in here, for the local application process to include site visits as a component and participant interviews as a component. So looking at how we can build it in. Yeah. Yes, Jen.
Just in response to Tamara's comment, if you want, feel free to email us to Tamara if that's helpful, and then we can include it on the debrief or make sure it gets, documented.
Yeah.
The year, a lot can happen in a year. I don't want you to lose feedback you received.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely email you and Kelsey.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And encourage the individual to connect with our Ombuds office too.
Yeah, that's probably, I'm meeting with her tomorrow, so I'll raise that issue with her. Yeah.
Yep. So we have 18 minutes. So I want to go back to a couple of our topic chunks to see if there's another area that folks want to look at before voting.
Before we call for a vote.
Yes.
So it's critical that we vote on this primary document today. You've got next week for the next one. Okay, great. And we still have a quorum, right?
Sign today, get it online tomorrow. It's due on the 28th.
Yep. And I will ask in that vote to include approval for any final edits that need to be made based upon this conversation. And there are 2 people reviewing it today that should get me any feedback tomorrow to make sure we're answering the questions correctly. So if there's any feedback from those other reviews, to incorporate that feedback to improve our responses. So I will ask if that can be included in the approval vote.
Marvin, we don't have a quorum anymore. We only have 8 members here. I don't know who dropped out, but I think it was Sherry. She's no longer on the call. Oh no, she's here. She's here. I don't know who dropped out, but we only have 8 members now.
Okay.
Kelsey, don't cry.
Don't make me cry, please. Oh, what happened?
That is correct. I'm only counting 7 now. Did I?
Sherry, Shannon, Liz, Karen, Ben, Tamara, Marvin, and Christy. That's 8.
8. Great.
We can't go forward with a vote with only 9. And that I would like to put on the next agenda ask, because we need to find 3 more board members. We've been talking about this for too long. We need to amp that up.
All right.
However, we also process is in the works, Christy.
Oh, good, Karen. Yay. Thank you for the update.
So really quickly, folks, we have to do a bit of problem solving. Time is not allowing us to complete our tasks as a board. I'm open to suggestions. We either schedule another special meeting just to take a vote and start circling the wagons and reaching out to everyone. Or we take time right now to reach out to board members and have them join the call. So
and they're uninformed. They're uninformed if they join.
They would be uninformed.
Right. I say we make a special dispensation to vote for the board members who are here. Go ahead.
One second. Okay, Catherine.
No, it's Sherry.
So,
okay, I'm looking if Catherine's still on the line.
I am.
I need to find out if within the charter, is there any block to us voting when we don't have an identified quorum?
Cannot. Quorum needs to be met for any vote to carry and to be confirmed.
In which case, could Peter step in and act as a board member? Because this is critical time for the NOFO. If we don't vote, it doesn't pass. Is that it?
Employees of KCRHA are not allowed to vote.
And we can't have people who are non-board members voting. That's something that's in our charter that says like, hey, you can have somebody substitute for you, but even that substitute cannot be a voting member. Yeah. And so it has to be the people who are on our board. I did email everybody prior to this meeting, just looking forward to seeing everybody. And this is who showed up.
Yes, you did.
So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to vote. We cannot break those rules. It'll be pointless and purposeless if we do, and can actually get us in trouble.
Correct.
We can schedule an emergency special meeting and let people know like they need to show up to vote on this. Like
Kelsey can't move forward in the work until this is voted. Like, so now we're at a standstill.
Right.
And so maybe if we emphasize that in an email to our board members, you know, again, it was helpful for Christy and Marvin both to reach out to me today because I was caught up in another meeting to have me here. And so I'm just thinking some of that type of helpfulness of accountability, helping us all show up is needed, especially during these times where it is very pertinent that we are present and voting. But they will have to be informed. I mean, I can't ask other members to also vote on something that they haven't been informed on. That has been a big issue with all of our members. We want to know what's going on. We want to know what we're voting on. And so I think we just emphasize some of that in an email, maybe some phone calls, like Marvin said, reaching out to them and letting them know the importance of at least just showing up for, you know, 10, 15-minute vote if needed, maybe a quick rundown, an explanation of what they are voting on.
That's a great idea. We could pass on the word of what we need and then set a date right now for the next meeting.
It would be tomorrow. There is no other X date. We only had one day.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yell at me, Marvin, I'm here.
With the rules and the regulations for posting that we have to adhere to, we can call a meeting for tomorrow, but that meeting will need to be posted onto the KCRHA website 24 hours in advance.
We'll do it then.
So
yeah, we'll have the meeting at 4 tomorrow then.
24 hours tomorrow at this point is not going to happen because it is already 4 o'clock. It's going to take us 45 minutes to an hour to get all the information together, to get it over to the people who actually post that information at KCRHA onto the website. My suggestion to that is if we can come together as a board and schedule something first thing Wednesday morning. It will definitely need to be Wednesday morning. That would give the admin side of it, of the process, the time that it needs to be able to follow the processes that need to be followed to make this happen. I cannot do a 24-hour advance notice for a meeting tomorrow. The soonest
I think you're fine. You're fine, right? And we know that. And so let's go ahead and schedule it for Wednesday morning.
There's another option if we want to stay a little later. One of us could reach out to Marisol. I don't know, Christina is still hospitalized. Who's the other board member that's not here? We could bring Marisol up to date and let her know the critical need for her presence. Who's the other board member that's not here? Christina, Marisol, and
Kelly.
Kelly, okay. So if we could reach out to those 3 people, let them know, maybe Christina has a pass, but maybe Kelly or Marisol would be available and able. We could do this tonight and get it done tonight. This is a critical need so the NOFO can go through. This isn't new. We know this. This is what we're here for. This is what the COC board is about. This is our work. This is why we're in. What does everybody think of that? I'd be willing to call Marisol. If you give me your number, I'll call her right now.
This is Sherry. I think we should do Wednesday morning because that's a little rush, and then you're gonna have to kind of rush in trying to explain that versus Wednesday morning. Maybe you can have a little bit more time to explain it.
What now, Sherry? I missed what you said.
I think Wednesday morning sounds better because right now everybody has to stop or whatever and try to call people. And then, you know, if you can't get them, then it's like, okay. Or if you get them, then we have to explain. I think Wednesday morning is better because everybody should be prepared. The email's going to go out and then they'll be more prepared to know that they need to be on Wednesday morning.
I'm out of town on a job I'm committed to Wednesday morning. I cannot promise to be here.
So real quick, this is Jen. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious though, we did have a quorum at one point. Can we try to figure out who that missing person is
We
now?
never took roll, yeah.
Okay. Anyone remember by chance who was on at the beginning? Just because I feel like, you know, that some of the timing piece is we assume, presumably that person caught, you know, some of the conversation or hopefully all of it. And we won't have to wait for kind of redoing the whole presentation.
Catherine, do we have roll call?
No, we didn't.
Did not. And I'm just looking right now. Hold on. I'm scrolling through the transcript.
And since we're on the topic, I really do think it's also worthwhile to discuss accountability amongst the board. We are accountable to each other. We're also accountable to the community. And if you're not showing up after all these reminders and after all these like outreach attempts, if you're not showing up, then maybe you shouldn't be on the board.
Bingo.
Is all I'm saying. Because this is hindering progress.
Correct.
And I want everybody to stay on the board. I want us to be a full functioning board. But as a board member, I get really frustrated if we're making progress and then people aren't showing up, or at least not telling us when we can't be there.
We need to
just
have
leaving us all guessing. It's not accountable.
We need to have some process in place as well, because we've been to this point so much where we've been missing one person short of a quorum, where voting measures need to be taken and has had to go to the next meeting. And so we fail our commitments, we fail our responsibilities again. So we need to look at our charter and where can we pull, like in this case, we're one member short, so we're stuck, so the NOFO's stuck, so Kelsey and Jen are stuck. What can we do in this instance? Because you know it's going to happen again. This board is historically notorious for this occurring. So what can we do so this doesn't happen again? Can we pull somebody out? Can we make a special dispensation that this doesn't need to occur again?
I just want to acknowledge that I hear everybody's frustration and yet willingness to be held accountable. There's some other people who have reached out to me and Marvin about that same thing, and we were hoping to have, bring that to a meeting, an agenda item with the application process. Asking again people's commitment to this board if they have that time, things of that nature, because multiple, within the subcommittees as well as the board in general, people have continued to express frustration about that. And so I do want to let you guys know that we do hear you and we are planning to address those issues. I know it's not as fast and as swift as we would like or need, but it is on the table.
So where do we stand at the moment?
We're going to try to book for Wednesday, right? I mean, that's our best bet. I hear that Christy can't be there, but let's hope that another person can. We have to
Can we
post it
set a
24
time for the
hours.
vote? Maybe they can't attend the whole meeting, but she can come online, vote, and step offline.
That'd be good too.
I don't know if that works for Christy.
Can I ask, I'm going to try and get online if I can. Is Brianna still a board member? Is Jenna still a board member? Is Linda People still a board member? Is Noreen Hill still a board member?
Yes.
Robin Patsuda still a board member?
So far, yes. We haven't removed anyone.
Okay, so
nobody's been removed from the board.
Okay, so those are 5 people right there that we could. I only thought of the ones that I've seen, but those people, I've rarely seen them at the board meetings. So just saying, I will try to attend this meeting because this is important work to me. So yeah, I will try to do my darndest. If you can give me a good time, I might be in transit, but I know the issues and I'm versed on what we need to do. So yeah, I'll give you my darndest, you guys, you know that.
And you're updated on the report. So it's not like we have to rebrief you.
Right, yeah, right, Shani, yeah, you're right.
So is there a proposed time for this early meeting? We're saying 8 o'clock?
What time did you have in mind, Catherine?
Maybe 10.
So here's the thing.
Then I can't be there.
Kelsey, what time do you need to post what you need to post for HUD?
It needs to be posted before 5 p.m. on Wednesday.
So my suggestion is anytime between 8 a.m. and noon to give Kelsey also the time that she needs to do what she needs to do in order to submit. Now, the earlier is going to be the better. And to make sure that we're going to have quorum. Because it's not going to make any sense to do all of this and then come Wednesday morning, we still don't have quorum.
Right,
That is
exactly what I'm thinking.
Okay. I mean, honestly, this needs to be set solid in concrete that we're going to have quorum. You're going to be here. And that's that, you know what I mean? To do that vote. And I just don't have that confidence that we're going to have quorum on Wednesday. And, basically we're going to miss out on $55 million of funding. That's where we're at right now.
So I suggest we each call Christina and Brianna and Jenna and Linda and Marisol and Noreen and Robin, all of us, get their phone numbers, each of us call them and let them know this is important. If they hear from the other board members that are here, they get 8 phone calls saying, hey, we really needed you today of all days. This is what we're here for. This is your job as an advisory board member. Today, the other times you weren't here, no problem, but this is the day you needed to be here and you weren't here. You let us all down, or whatever you want to say. I won't be that mean, but I'll be thinking that, I'm telling you. So we need to, instill upon them that this is their job. They're not following through. If you don't want to be on the board, please resign so we can get people in here that want to do this job that will show up. Because I'm with Catherine. I don't have a lot of confidence that we're going to get a quorum on Wednesday, really. And I hate saying that, but I'll be driving, but I'll be there.
At the end of the day, all we can do is try, right? We're all only human. And unfortunately, that's what we have to work with. We've all shown up here today.
Yeah.
And we can encourage others to do the same. But I mean, we are humans, so humans are going to do what they want to do. It's not, we can't force anybody to do those things, as frustrating as that is. We can hold them accountable, right? And again, there's just a process for doing that. And so we'll just stick to that. But again, I do hear everybody's frustration and I apologize.
Okay.
So thank you, Sinead, for saying that, because the process is the one that's still in writing is that we can remove board members for lack of attendance. It's straightforward and it's pretty easy to follow. If we remove the board members, we readjust what is quorum. And that
also still need a vote for that.
We need a quorum, yeah, to vote for that.
You still need a vote, Marvin.
No, here's the key piece. The coach, well, in this term for us, it's co-chairs were given the set-aside ability to remove board members that due to lack of attendance.
That is true.
It was not given to the board to take a vote on releasing those members. It was given to the power of the chair. In our case, our co-chairs. We've never amended that. So, I mean, it is another path forward. If we want to shoot for Wednesday, folks, I mean, if we give a good, honest attempt at asking folks who should be part of this process to join us, then our only way forward may be to reduce the board.
I am saying that this is a little golden moment here, and these people that don't show up have had 2 years to be active board members. Why are we going to have another board meeting when you and Shanae as co-chairs could go ahead and say, thank you for your service, but you, and you are no longer members of this advisory committee due to your lack of accountability. And at which point we will have quorum right now, Marvin, and Kelsey and Jen could go forward.
It doesn't give them an opportunity to show up. It doesn't give them the space to respond and or show up.
They haven't been showing up though.
I am not taking away from that. I'm saying if that is what I just represented as a very drastic step. If we're going to meet on Wednesday, make sure that the email that we send out to all of them lays out the need for them to be there, the why they will be there, and the accountability if they fail to show.
All right, are you going to
now? I can lean on Catherine to tell us which, and I'm almost sure the 3 months meeting piece of that has been met.
It has.
Those cases.
It has. I know. Who's going to draft the letter?
Oh, definitely, definitely for sure. So, as far as setting,
you got a couple hands up. You got a couple hands up, Catherine.
Please.
I do see hands up. So real quickly, Catherine, Sherry.
And Lee's.
And Lee's.
Sherry, you can.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just going to say a little bit on the fact that we don't know the story because I know people are frustrated just as well as me, and I've been thinking about quitting myself. So I think before we judge them, we do need to have a right to figure out why was they not attending the meeting. If it's their schedule, then yeah, they should be letting know and they should be speaking up. But I mean, I think they have a right to say their truth.
Which is why I was advocating having a meeting Wednesday morning, 8 a.m. Structure the email that calls them to the table, the need for them to be there, or, you know, we're at a point where they either, we're at a point that we are going to be forced to take the only steps left available to us to make sure there's, I don't remember the number Catherine says, and I don't have the application in front of me, that we don't lose out on this opportunity to keep this funding in our space.
$57 million for the first NOFO, correct, Kelsey?
Yeah, and I would say if we could add that, I think that's just a really important transparency detail to let folks know what the consequences are.
Who's going to draft this letter? Who would be nicer than me drafting this important letter to the board members?
So as administrative, administrative specialist and note taker for this group, I don't have a problem laying that out. As I was explaining earlier, you know, I am really focused on making sure that this board and the members of this board have all the information that they need to be able to garner sound decisions, votes, and so on, by making sure you guys have the information you need prior to the meetings. So I will, as soon as we leave here, if we can agree 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, I'll go ahead and resend out a link, get it posted to the website, and explain in the email to everyone, you know, it is important that you be present at this meeting. If you were not present for this particular meeting, that you get some knowledge and read this material. I'm going to resend the material, you know, and have some awareness about what's going on. And we need your vote Wednesday morning. You know, that's just the bottom line. We cannot spend 2 hours re-going through all this stuff because you weren't here.
I make a motion that we adjourn soon and reconvene on Wednesday, September 28th, which is going to make Kelsey bite her nails until then. But as a board, reconvene at 10 a.m.
Have a second?
And just FYI, I heard from Kelly, she says she can be there on Wednesday. So if we can all commit to being here at the time selected on Wednesday, we should have a quorum.
Okay.
Can we get a second? Can we get a second on the motion?
Second that motion I just made, please.
Oh, second.
Thank you. All in
All
favor?
right. Aye.
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 I'm like a trainer. You know what to do.
Aye.
Hey, the ayes have it. Let me
Yes.
get this stuff drafted
And please
get
share it
to-
with me and Shanae.
I will.
And
I
we'll get it out.
I will.
Kelsey
Thank
and
you,
Jen.
everybody, for showing up and showing out.
Kelsey and Jen, on behalf of the board members who are not here, I am heartily, humbly apologizing for their lack of accountability. Those of us that are here that show up every month, I'm glad to know you and hope that we can go forward in this work and that we will find people that want to continue to do this work. Thank you.
I think it's important to acknowledge that some board members have not been able to show up because the scheduling has not been compatible with the job that they need to meet their basic needs. So I feel like the attitude around like showing up whenever it's not within the realm of possibility for some people isn't.
Nice. Wait,
They can let us know though. Let us know that they can't. They can send somebody. That's part of our charter, is that if you can't show up, you can send somebody as proxy, and that person could have had a vote here. I believe is in our charter. No, they can't, but they can show up and carry the information back to the person. So just not showing up is just not cool. So.
And Liz, I don't know, in the past, we had a meeting, just so everybody's clear. The board decided that if you're not able to meet in regards to your schedule, that is on you as a person, because as a board, we discussed this prior to anything was setting up our schedule. And so if that no longer works for people's schedule, then again, me and Marvin will reach out to them and let them know, like, then we got to give up your seat to somebody else, because that's the schedule that we all agreed on.
Right. Thank you, Shani.
So we'll just keep moving forward. We've been giving everybody here the options. Catherine's going to conduct the letter. She'll send it out to me and Marvin. We'll review it and it'll go out. And it may come off kind of harsh, right? It may come off kind of impactful on people, but our intention is just to bring accountability and remembrance of why we're all showing up here. And if you're not able to do that anymore, then let us know so we can move forward.
Okay, will you please send that to all board members, Catherine?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Shanae.
You're welcome. Well, have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Thanks,
Everyone,
Gordon.
thanks for coming. Thank you. Kelsey, can you hang on for 1 sec? Once we close the session.
Happy to do so.
So Jen, Catherine, Kelsey, the reason I wanted to meet last week was because I had foreseen that this may be a complication. We didn't meet. We're still not sure that, I think we will find a way to take a vote. But in many cases, we're working in these spaces. It is going to be incumbent of the folks preparing stuff and doing stuff that we create flexibility so that we don't get hamstrung. So because it's, I saw it coming. So